trouble with SAM 1014. Here you're using commands. You're using affirmative and negative usted commands. So you're going to want to look at page, what page is this? 324. And they tell you that when you make the usted commands, you're going to use the same form, but where your pronouns, if you have direct and indirect object pronouns, where they go is different for affirmative and negative commands. So for affirmative commands, you're going to attach your object pronouns to the end of the command, and then you would add an accent mark to reflect where the stress fell on the word before you added the pronouns. And if it is a negative command, you have to put the pronouns in front. So I don't know. So these are examples of affirmatives. Váyase, tómele, and I don't, here, no se tuerza, no se lo den. And remember that when you're dealing with direct and indirects, that the indirect comes before the direct, and that if they are both ones that would start with an L, that your indirect changes to se. Like you couldn't have lelo or lela, it would become selo, sela. So with that being in mind, let's see if we can't do this activity. Okay, so it says, le tomo la presión al paciente. So then you're told, no, don't take it, yes, take it. So in the no, this says, preparo el horario del trabajo. So your object is going to be el horario, and your verb is preparo. So I'm going to put preparar. Okay, so my command for preparar as an AR verb, you are going to conjugate your verb into the yo form and add the opposite ending. So preparar is an AR verb, so the yo form is an O, and then and you add the opposite el, elia ending. So the ending for ER verbs for el, elia, usted is an E. So I'm going to have prepare, okay? Okay, and then el horario, so I want to say don't prepare it. The it for horario is going to be, remember you have for your direct objects are lo, la, los, and las. So you have lo for el horario. So we're going to put no lo prepare usted. So this one doesn't have an indirect. Maybe that's what the problem is that you're trying to add an indirect when you don't have it. Up here you have both a direct and an indirect, because what you're taking is you're taking blood pressure, and you're taking it of the patient. So you've got a person who's doing the taking, that's I. You've got something that's being taken and something from whom it's being taken. So you've got all three. In this one, you don't have a third person. You have someone who's preparing. What they're preparing is the schedule, but there's no other person, so you just have the lo. So no lo prepare usted. And then C, so again, I have preparar. The yo is an O, and the opposite ending would be an E. Now, because this ends in a vowel, it's getting stressed on the A. So when I add my lo here, it's added an extra syllable, and the stress would now be falling on the E. So to maintain where the original stress fell, I have to put an accent here. Prepárelo, okay? Leo la radiografía. Again, I only have a direct object because there's someone who's doing the reading and there's a what's being read, but there's not a for whom it's being read. So I have leer. I'm going to change it to the O, and then the third person ending, this is an ER verb, the third person ending of the, the el, elia, usted ending for the opposite set of endings for the AR verbs is an A. And then my radiografía changes to la, and when it's a negative command, I have to put the la in front. No, la lea. But here, I'm going to use the same word again. I'm going to attach it. But this time, if it ends in le, I think it's going to be the E. That's right. So if I have le, that's two syllables. The original stress would go over the E, and so I'm going to have to now put an accent in, because when I add my la here, I've added an extra syllable, and I want the stress to still fall where it originally fell. Okay? Le pido los datos al paciente. This time I have both an indirect and a direct. I have a person who's asking for the like personal history from the patient. So I have someone who's asking for the history. I have the history, and then I have the patient. Okay, so we're gonna do pedir. Okay, the yo form. Well, they've already given you the yo form, so this should make it easy. Is pido? It's an IR verb, so the opposite ending is an A. What I am not going to ask for, I'm not gonna from the patient. My indirect is le, right? That they already have it. No, don't ask him for them. The datos would be los, and if you remember in Spanish, you cannot have le, los. You're gonna have to change the le to se. Okay, so the se was taking care of the paciente, the los was for the datos. Now when I make the affirmative command, I've got to take that se los and put it on the end of my pida. Okay, now pida, the original stress, because it ends in an A, would be over that I. So now I just have to make that a written stress, because when I add se los, that would change where the stress should go. Okay, so here, les pongo más inyecciones a los pacientes. Okay, again, I have both. I have indirects and directs this time. I have inyecciones, which would be las, and les for the pacientes. So the person who's giving the injections is me. What I'm giving are injections. That's going to be my directs, my lo, la, los, las. To whom it's being given are the pacientes. That's going to be my le, les. Okay, so if I don't give that, so I'm going to take my poner. The yo is pongo, which you can already see. The opposite ending is an A, so that's the command. Then I need my indirect, which is les. I need my direct, which is las. I cannot have les, las. Anytime you have an indirect that starts with an L, and you have a direct that starts with an L, your indirect, the first one, has to be rewritten as se. Now I'm going to take that se las and put it on the end. So here's my ponga. The original stress would fall on the O, so now I have to write it in, because when I attach my pronouns, it's changing where the stress would fall. Se las. Whoops. Póngaselas. So, le repito el examen médico a la señora Lopez. Again, I have a direct and an indirect, so I have repetir. The yo for repetir is repito. The opposite would be repita. The person to whom I'm repeating it is la señora Lopez, which is le, and it's the examen, which would be lo. And I can't have that. I've got to change it to se. And so then here, I now have to write in my accent and add these on the end. Repítaselo. Le doy 2 pastillas al niño. Here's my doy is irregular. So we want to go back out here for dar. There should be a list of irregulars for you. It should be de. Perdón. Hold on a minute. Let me find them. Okay, so I'm just looking in studyspanish.com, and they give you here are your irregulars. So the irregular form of dar is de. So I would put de. So no. Who are you not giving them to? The niño, which would be le, las. You cannot have le, las, so you have to change it to se, and then you want to add it to the end for the affirmatives. So let's make sure we did this right. Okay, so those are all right. And I will send you the link to those irregulars as well, so hopefully this explains how to do this activity.